Hey everyone! So, today I am here with Nick from Talk and Review, and we're here to do something a little bit different today. Because him and I are both big martial arts movie film buffs, we thought it would be a really fun idea for him and I to ask each other a lot of interesting questions when it comes particularly to the martial arts film genre, and just kind of ask each other, just kind of rack each other's brain to see what each other would answer in these specific questions. So I really hope you guys will relax and enjoy what we have to talk about. And here are my questions. Question number one. What is your most nostalgic martial arts film? Can be good or bad.
Okay, so my most nostalgic martial art film, I'm going to give you two. So the first one will be a cheesy film, and it's The Last Dragon. So if you haven't seen this film, it's based on Bruce Leroy. It's a comedy film, and he's in New York searching for his master to obtain the final level of martial arts mastery known as the glow. So the film is a comedy, and if you watch it now it probably looks horrendous, but back then I used to love this film, and the final fight when he then achieves the glow was really cool when he's imitating Bruce Lee. So yeah, it's one that brings back memories for me. Second film would be Kickboxer. So this was the main film that got me into martial arts. So it was the scene where Van Damme's kicking the tree. I can remember clearly that was the scene that impressed me, and I was like, wow, I need to look at more of these films, and that then led me to get into martial arts a lot more. So yeah, Kickboxer and The Last Dragon.
Number two. Who is your favorite martial arts actor?
Favorite martial arts actor is Jean-Claude Van Damme. So I followed him religiously when I was younger. Had every single film. I had posters all over my walls. Yeah, watched his films every single day. So I knew every fight scene, knew every word, every punch, every kick. He's just someone that really inspired me into martial arts, inspired me to train and get fit and healthy. Even today, in his 50s, he's still in awesome shape. Yeah, his films are nowhere near the quality that they were before. So obviously you've got the likes of Bloodsport, Kickboxer, AWOL, which is Lionheart in the America, Double Impact, Hard Target, Universal Soldier. There's loads of films. Jean-Claude isn't obviously the best martial artist. There's tons of martial artists that are a lot better than Jean-Claude technically. But back then, that 360 kick, the splits, I think it's just the perfection that he had in his kicks, just looked amazing in films, especially when it went in slow motion and he's doing all his roundhouse kicks, and yeah, he just had so much charisma, and yeah, and no wonder he got to where he wanted to be. But yeah, he's definitely someone I still follow today, and someone that really inspired me and still does in terms of training and stuff like that. I'd also include Scott Adkins. So I've seen the way that Scott works and has worked over his career, and his work ethic inspires me. So he's always putting 100% in to his roles. And the thing with the films that Scott Adkins does, these are low budget films, and he has lots of things that are in his way in terms of budget, time restraints, and he still manages to pull off amazing films that stand out with such low budgets. So yeah, he definitely inspires me, again, keeping in shape all the time. So Jean-Claude, and current Scott Adkins, because he's easily the best Western martial artist there is today.
Number three. Who is your favorite martial arts director?
Okay, so favourite martial arts director? This is a great question. It's so tough to just pick one. I can't do one. I'm going to have to go through a few. So, first one is Wilson Yip. So he's done some awesome films from Dragon Tiger Gate, SPL Killzone, Flashpoint, some awesome stuff in Flashpoint, the Ip Man films. Obviously, you've got Ip Man 4 coming up soon. Yeah, he's definitely one of my favourites. Another one would be, I don't know how to say his name properly, Tsuyu Hark. He did some really great stuff, especially with Van Damme. He did Knockoff and Double Team. For me, I think they came out at the wrong time. I loved the way that he filmed. He brought some really interesting camera stuff into Knockoff and Double Team, and I think they weren't that successful because I think he was a bit of ahead of his time. And looking back now, compared to the films that Van Damme's doing, I'd absolutely love for Van Damme to do Knockoff and Double Team type of films again. But yeah, I don't know. I loved his creativity in terms of camera angles and the way that stuff is filmed. Another current one would be Gareth Evans. So he's just absolutely smashing it with the films that he's doing with The Raid. Yeah, he is one that I really am looking forward to in the future. I'd love to see him do a film with Scott Adkins, and just see what they could do. Or bring Scott into a Raid film. Definitely would love to see that. A few other mentions would be guys that are not in the theatrical genre, but I feel they would be brilliant. Isaac Florentine, he 100% knows how to film action and fight scenes with the wide angles, the long takes. Yeah, with the Undisputed films and the films that he's done with Scott, he clearly knows what he's doing. Another one would be Jesse Johnson as of late. So Jesse's just started to do a couple of films now with Scott, where you got Savage Dog. He's just recently done Accident Man, and you've got another 2 films coming out, which is Triple Threat and The Debt Collector. Again, he's very similar to Isaac. He knows how to film a fight scene. There's no cuts, there's no shaky cam. He's showing you everything, and that's what I like to see. And with each film, I see Jesse getting better and better in terms of the quality and just the way that the fight scenes are filmed. So I'm really looking forward to Triple Threat and what he brings for Debt Collector as well. But yeah, great question. Sorry I couldn't pick one, but there is too many to choose from.
Number 4. Who is your favorite martial arts film fight choreographer?
Okay, so favourite fight choreographer. Oh, you've done me on this one again. So I wouldn't be able to pick one. My current one, excuse me, would be Donnie Yen. He knows what to do currently in terms of fight scenes. Flashpoint was the perfect example for me. He brought something fresh and new to Flashpoint, of where he incorporated MMA into the film. It was done before, but he brought it and it looked brutal. Especially that last fight scene, that is easily one of my favourite fight scenes. But yeah, Donnie, he's done his Blade 2. He's obviously had it. He's always had an input in terms of every fight scene that he's done. And if you look at his Internet Movie Database, there's lots of where he's listed as a fight choreographer, but he's been uncredited for it. So yeah, Donnie Yen for me currently. You've got your Yuan Wu Ping who's just absolutely awesome. He's done obviously a lot of films with Donnie Yen, and he's top of the top in terms of fight choreographer. Another one, well, it's not a person. For me, Jackie Chan's team, his stunt team, they have done some ridiculous fight scenes over the years, and again, these people don't get enough credit for what they input into films. Jackie's stunt team are definitely top of the top. And just one more that I'd want to mention would be JJ Perry. So he's done some awesome stuff. He made Undisputed 2 with Scott, and some of the moves that he was pulling out on there are ridiculous. He's done some work. JJ's worked with literally everyone. But yeah, I'd love to see him come back and do a few more films with some of the guys again. So Michael J. White, Scott Adkins. So yeah, I'd love to see what he can bring and push them to new heights.
Number 5. How do you feel films such as the new Avengers Infinity War and Deadpool 2 affect the martial arts film genre? This can be positively or negatively depending on your point of view.
Okay, so what are films like Avengers and Deadpool? So what impact are these films having on martial art films? So I think, for me personally, a good example would be The Raid. So this film come out, and for me it was absolutely awesome. It was released on limited release, and it made some money, but I believe it didn't make as much as it could. And for me, that sort of film baffles me as to why it's not making as much money when I'm seeing these Transformer films making lots and lots of money. I think over the years, budgets have got so huge that martial art films can't compete with these big films anymore. I think with the 80s and the 90s, budgets could have been close. You'd get the odd film that would shoot up to a high budget, but now it's a regular thing to have these huge blockbusters, and I think a martial art film can't compete with these superhero films. So yeah, the effect for me is budget, and I also feel the genre sort of died out and went into more of a cult sort of following. Just people who are interested in that will just follow it rather than it be a sort of cinematic release. But I'm seeing it slowly creep back into the cinema. So for me, I see Winter Soldier, Captain America. I'm seeing nice kicks and some of them martial arts being incorporated into the big films. But yeah, they're nowhere near. So the strange thing for me, I'm blabbering on, but you've got these straight to DVD films which filmed within weeks, and these films are just absolutely smashing it in terms of fight scenes. And then you've got big blockbuster films. A good example would be the Bourne films. So the Bourne films are really, really good, but you've got all that shaky cam, and you just haven't got a clue what's going on. And that was then pushed into Taken. You even had it in the Dark Knight, where them films are brilliant, but you cannot see what Batman's doing when he's fighting, and it just looks crap. I think they did it really, really well with Batman v Superman. That warehouse scene, I can remember when I first saw that, and I was like, that is amazing. And that was simply because I could see everything, and he was portrayed as an absolute badass. But for me, it's films went in a bit of a wrong direction in terms of fights. It was just too much shaky stuff, and now it looks to be they're bringing a bit more of the old school back. So yeah.
Number 6. What do you think about some martial arts film actors being included in these films, such as Scott Adkins in Doctor Strange and Donnie Yen in Star Wars Rogue One?
Yeah, I think it's great for them to be in the films, but the thing that really annoys me, and it's always happening, is they're ridiculously underused. Um, Happened to Tony Jaa, always happens with Scott Adkins, and again happens with Donnie Yen. These guys are never ever used to the full potential, and it baffles me why producers have people like this in their films and yeah, just don't do anything with them. If you want to sell your film, you'd be wanting to use these people and use their talent, use their skills to make your film even better. But yeah, they're really wasted, and I don't understand it. So I'm pretty sure these producers and stuff like that know what these people are about, and yeah, they just don't do anything with them. So I think it's really good aspect for the guys that are in the big films, because obviously it's raising their profile for future films. But yeah, I feel they're hugely wasted, and I haven't seen a big blockbuster film with any of these guys in where they've been used properly. So yeah, definitely needs some improvement going on in that aspect.
Number 7. Do you think martial arts films benefit more from having an original story or being based off of a source material such as the new Accident Man from Scott Adkins?
I think from both. So I think Scott's Accident Man proved that it works. Incorporated the martial arts aspect of it, and I think even original material. I think it depends on who's doing the film and what the eventual outcome comes of the film. So in terms of location, the casting, the actual fight scenes themselves. But yeah, I think for me, either or for the original content or the source material, I think they both work. There's not, if you follow source material, it's gonna be a rubbish film. If you've got a team that's invested in the film and everyone is on the same page, you're gonna get a great film. So yeah, I don't think it matters to me.
Question number 8. What do you think about Jason Statham's career jump from being a simple martial arts movie actor to being in tons of major blockbuster pictures?
So Jason Statham. So yeah, when he first come out, he was sort of classed as the new Van Damme, because he was doing a lot of his martial arts in the Transporter films, and obviously he then started progressing through the ranks and started getting into these big budget films. I think it's great seeing someone like Jason progressing and getting into these big budget films. He has quiet periods, but then he comes back with some really big films, and I think he's got that appeal. When you think of Jason Statham, you just automatically think badass, and I think the Fast and the Furious films have done wonders for him. I can remember like crowds going wild when Statham turned up in the Fast and Furious films, and I think I've heard that they're going to do a spin-off with Statham and The Rock, and I think that'd be a brilliant choice for them to do, and that's only going to expand Statham. Obviously, he's a big part of the Expendables film. That would be a massive, big tick for me. I'm sure he was ecstatic working with all of these huge action stars from the past, and obviously you got some of the present, so many stars going in there, and again this is just building his profile and expanding, and it looks to be that he's built a really strong relationship with the likes of Stallone. So yeah, I think it's great, and Statham always brings something decent. I love the film Safe. That was done by J.J. Perry's fight choreographer. Yeah, really good film. And yeah, when Statham brings it, he doesn't let you down. He's done a few stinkers, but overall, you know you're getting a good watch when you've got a Jason Statham film.
Number 9. What martial arts actor do you hope follows Statham's in his footsteps?
So, what martial arts actor would follow Statham? My answer is definitely going to be Scott Adkins. Scott 150% needs that break to fall into the cinematic um, universe. It's all Scott needs is someone to chuck 30 to 40 million, give him full control and creative aspects of the film, and he will deliver a ridiculous film. So if you think about what he does within 4 to 8 weeks with the film, give him that much cash, and he honestly, I think he'd deliver something outstanding. And like I said, his work ethic, what I said earlier, is bar none. The fight scenes are intense. His acting is improving with every single film that he's doing, and he's just working so hard to really get that. And for me, he needs that break. And with him being so talented, I feel that he's wasted by not being in some of these films. I watched loads of films and think Scott could have done that film and made it 10 times better. And just if you look at Statham and Scott in terms of martial arts, Scott blows Statham out of the water. So if you had Scott in a role like Transporter, you'd see some ridiculous stuff on there. But yeah, for me, the only person is Scott that would take over Statham's role. And the problem that I see as well is that there's no one I see taking Scott's crown with the straight to DVD films. You've got Michael J. White. I'd probably say he's sort of on par, but Scott is the top who is delivering these fight scenes, and it proves how well he is doing. I don't know what the awards were. It was to do with it was something in Hong Kong, I believe, and he was winning awards for Boyka, Undisputed 4, and for me, for him to win that there and beat everyone else there is there shows how well he's doing. The awards are not worldwide known, but for that sort of genre, for me, that was quite a big award for him. And yeah, he just deserves it. I think if you don't know who Scott Adkins is, go watch YouTube, type his name in, and yeah, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
And number 10, I got this one, saved it for last, specifically for you. What are your top 3 favorite Scott Adkins martial arts films, and why?
Yeah, I already know what these are. So, number 3 would be Undisputed 3. So, the reason why that would be my number 3, this was the film that took Boyka into a new territory. So I don't think it's happened before where you've got a straight to DVD film and then the villain is that good that he then gets his own movie and then gets a whole franchise on the back of it. And Undisputed is, I don't know, just catapulted, and I've seen it grow over the years. There was a Facebook page, Jory Boyka, and the amount of likes that got had more than actual Scott's official page, and that shows how much of an impact this character's had on a lot of people. And yeah, just in terms of the film, it brought a new dimension to Boyka. So he was sort of an anti-hero in this film. You saw a bit of a different side to him. I loved the relationship between him and Turbo. You've got Marco Zorro, who's absolutely awesome. So you've got Scott, Marco, you've also got Lateef Crowder in the film, and the fights were amazing in there. And what I like about the Scott's films is everyone gets to shine to make the film better. There's no, let me dumb you down a little bit to make myself look better. It's, yeah, you shine, I shine, and we make a great film together. Yeah, and Undisputed 3, I can remember when I first saw it, yeah, it blew me away in terms of how good of a follow-up it was. So yeah, that would be my number 3. Number 2 would be Scott's recent film, Accident Man. So this was Scott's passion project. And for me, the reason I've got it as number 2 is Scott looks really comfortable throughout the film. He wrote the film with his friend, and yeah, it's a British film. I love the humour in it. You've got Michael J. White and Ray Park, so he fights them twice, both at the same time, and obviously that's a nice treat for martial arts fans. It was something different, and yeah, it felt like it was a real quality film, and you could tell that Scott really enjoyed making the film, and it was something that he was passionate about. There was nothing cheap about the film. It wasn't like something that was done in Bulgaria. Yeah, and it was something fresh. It was something different for Scott. And yeah, I really liked it. Lots of familiar faces. Yeah, great film. Number 1 for me, I don't know what it is, but this is my number 1 Scott film. It's Universal Soldier: Day of Reckoning, and you've obviously got Jean-Claude Van Damme, who's playing the villain, and you've got Dolph Lundgren in there as well. Andrei Arlovsky, yeah, you've got him in there. I don't know what it is. The film looks nothing like a straight to DVD film. It looks like a theatrical film. I got both the standard Blu-ray and also got the 3D Blu-ray, and the 3D one looked absolutely awesome, especially the end scene where Scott's character is walking through the tunnels and just literally taking out all the Universal soldiers. The film's dark. As soon as the film starts, you're like, bloody hell, this is a good start to the film. I love how the film is messed up. You don't have a clue of what's going on. There's lots of twists, and even at the end, you don't really know. I think it's open to interpretation of what's gone on. You've got Scott fighting Dolph, fighting Van Damme. He also does an awesome fight scene in a sports shop with Andrei Arlovsky. The fight itself is nothing fancy, but for me, that fight scene just looks brutal, and Scott's reactions to Andrei's hits, he just sells them so well. There's like a first punch he does, and Scott's just staggering into a counter, and yeah, and then when he switches to realise he's a sort of Unisol and he's got a bit more power, yeah, that's when things start to get a bit more interesting. Yeah, I think the music in the film was just, yeah, it was just a dreary setting, and yeah, it's my favourite film of Scott's, and I'm looking to see if the Debt Collector or Triple Threat can dethrone Universal Soldier. I'd like to think they would, because that would mean Scott is progressing. But yeah, Universal Soldier: Day of Reckoning is my favourite film of Scott Adkins. Hi guys, it's Nick at Talk and Review. So really excited to do this little collab with Jamie. So my first question is, what was your first memory related to a martial art film?
My first memory related to a martial arts film would probably have to be when I was a really little kid and my dad would watch those old Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee films back when they used to air on TV. That's probably my earliest, most nostalgic memory of martial arts films.
Okay, so next question. I'm really looking forward to what your answers are going to be for this one. So tell me, what are your top three fight scenes from any film?
My top three fight scenes from any film. I would have to say Ah, I don't know. I would have to say, okay, so the number three, coming in at number three, would probably have to be the final fight, in Undisputed 3, Boyka versus the big, not the big guy. That's in the fourth one. The Russian guy, the guy who's like his equal or whatever at the end of the third one. That was a badass fight, especially when he broke his shin or whatever when they both collided knees. That was one of the most epic moments I've ever seen in an action film. Another one of my favorite fights, just because I think it's funny, would be Hulk versus Loki from Avengers. I just think that that's classic, and it's a fight scene that is actually really funny when you think about it. And probably my favorite fight scene, uh, honestly, my favorite fight scene would probably have to be, I mean, again, from Avengers, just the final climactic scene in the first one, where it's just all of the Avengers and they're just there and they're just working together, and it's just such a great moment that I was lucky to see in theaters, because man, what a moment that was. That was just, it has to be up there. It's got to be number one.
Okay, so who is your favorite action star and why?
My favorite action star is, you know, I think that's obvious, Scott Adkins. I mean, you really can't get much better than him. He's the best in the business right now, in my opinion, anyway. Sure, you've got, Ray Park, and you've got, tons of other, Michael J. Whites out there and Tony Jaws, but in my personal opinion, it's Scott Adkins. He's everything you need and want in an action star and more.
My next question is going to be more around the making of the film, or films in general. So, why do you think the shaky cam, when that first came out, got so popular?
Shaky cam, I've always found to be personally annoying. Why do I think it got popular? I think could be because it was an easy way to, I guess, kind of escape having a shitty choreographer, Like, I guess trying to make it look better, and even though it doesn't, I guess. Um, I mean, that's not my own personal thing. It's just like they didn't really know, the person handling the film didn't really know what to do with fight scenes, so they were just like, well, if we shake the camera around a lot, maybe it looks like, shit's actually getting intense, even though that's really not. But I've never been a fan of it personally.
What would be an action film that you like that would be less popular in people's top lists?
One action film that I really like, is, again, from Scott, the ninja films. I think that those are some of his best works, and they're just great action films all in all together. Because I'm a huge fan of the ninja aspect. I've always been a huge ninja fan growing up. Just of ninjas in general. Grew up watching the Ninja Turtles, and it just goes on and on and on. I love ninjas, so when that movie came out, I've already been experienced enough in the lore of those types of things. So I just thought it was just great and matched one in one with my interests, and I loved them. Unfortunately, I don't think that those movies make it onto a lot of people's top list, because when people think of martial arts films, they think of, oh, Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon, or they think, oh, Jackie Chan, Drunken Fist. They don't really think of, oh, Scott Adkins in Ninja, or a lot of these other films that have come out within the past 10 years or so. But that's one of mine.
Why do you think we haven't had women-centric action films that are, one, successful, and popular, and why has it only come about lately? So, for example, Wonder Woman, Atomic Blonde. Why hasn't this happened in the past?
I think that um, women haven't been included in a lot of martial arts films. I guess because they think that martial arts films need to have, some aspect of macho-ness to them that I guess they think that women can't bring, but that's not true. Because there's tons of women out there, especially in the wrestling and MMA industry, that have just brought in this aura and this just plethora of stuff that we've never gotten before from male actors. There's just tons of them out there. And there's tons of opportunities out there for us to see, and I think that more than just women actors, women martial artists, I think that what Wonder Woman, for example, proved is that women directors are also something that we clearly need, because they were able to she was able to give us something in a movie that probably a guy director would not have been able to do to the same effect. So I think that we're missing out on something that could potentially be something that we could be interested in. And there's tons of great female actors out there. Plus, I did hear about that female Expendables that's coming out. I don't know if it's still coming out, but I hope it is, because, like I said, I'm really interested.
What either action film or a martial art film wowed you on your first watch?
I guess recently, a martial arts film that really impressed me would have to be, well, it's not even really a martial arts film. Well, I guess you said action film too. Would have to be, again, recently, Avengers Infinity War. That movie I only saw once, but let me tell you, if I could go see it again, I would. It was great, honestly, and it's funny because it does have aspects of martial arts in it, especially from characters you never would have expected. Like in the opening scene, you get a really badass, like almost boxing match between Hulk and Thanos, and it's just so cool. And you see Thanos implementing aspects of martial arts as well, like as he dodges Hulk's punches and just throws him, and he gives him gut punches and uppercuts. It's great. It's great. I loved that film, and that would definitely have to be a movie recently, an action film that wowed me, because that was amazing.
Okay, so next question. Why do you think we don't get many martial art films in theatres anymore?
It's really unfortunate that we don't get a lot of martial arts films in theaters anymore. Recently, I think the most recent quote unquote martial arts film I saw in theaters was Ip Man 3, and unfortunately, I think even that film was a limited release, if I remember correctly. That wasn't in every theater. There was one recently that was in every theater. Grandmaster, I think the name of it was like that other Ip Man story that was really silly and kind of dumb in my opinion. But that was another one I'd seen recently. As for why I don't think we see any anymore, I don't know. I guess maybe people. I would say maybe people aren't interested in them anymore. But who the hell isn't interested in watching in a movie where you're just watching people beat the shit out of each other? It's so cool. I don't know. I don't know why we don't see many anymore. Maybe because they don't have that. I don't know. Maybe they're finding difficulties finding an original story, because that's kind of what you see in Avengers films. Avengers films are literally just people just fighting and beating the shit out of each other, and those are some of the most popular movies out there. I think that the reason why those movies are so popular is because they have that property, they have that source material. I think that if they try to make martial arts films based off of certain source materials, like for example an Iron Fist film, or I don't know, films based off of source materials and older comics and things that incorporated martial arts, I think that those films we could be seeing in theaters. I just think that it's just people not wanting to go into a movie that I guess they think is going to be cheesy and not have a good story and just, I guess that's it.
So this next question is more around what are your expectations? So when you go to the cinema or you sit down and watch a film, what is it that you expect to see from an action film?
What I expect from an action film is great fights. I mean that's one of the main reasons why I love Dragon Ball Z. I mean, I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan for the story and for the aspect as well, but it's the fights that of course, drag me to it in the first place. I mean, obviously I'm a guy. I've got that high testosterone level, so when I see two guys just beating the shit out of each other and you're rooting for somebody to win, I mean, come on. I mean, it's fun, that's great. I love that part in action films. And that's why I love Scott's films, because he's have some of the best of that. It's the best of both worlds. He's got great story, but then when you finally get to the fight scenes, it's just, oh man, it's such a rush. It just gives you a rush. And that's, honestly, I would say that that is a reason why, that is what I expect from martial arts films, is a rush. And it's great, because that's what I get from a lot of them. There's some that could be better, but, for the most part, they give you this rush, and that's what I expect.
So this question is more around filmmaking again. So what changes have you seen in action films over the years that have either improved or not improved?
In recent action films, I would say that they've definitely improved story aspects as well as pacing. And because if you go back and watch a lot of older films, specifically Bruce Lee films, they're still good, but you can tell that the pacing is a lot slower and the story is just kind of, generic. But I mean, that's because that's how they were back then. But then look at, you've got Ip Man 3 that came out recently. Like that's a good example for one that came out recently. It you got to have that uh spoiler warning, I guess, but you got to have that journey with him and his wife, and how his wife ended up getting, what did she end up getting, cancer, or she ended up getting some type of sickness, and she ends up passing, and you get to feel Ip Man's pain and everything. It's great. It's great aspect of storytelling, in my opinion. And the pace, like I said, the pacing is great, and what they decide to do with those scenes are great. And I don't know, I think scene selection is definitely an improvement that they've made with these martial arts films, is scene selection and choosing where to put the scenes, and making them that much more emotional.
Okay, so there's so many films that I personally would love to see in the cinema that I never got a chance to see when either I was younger, or I wasn't old enough to see the films in the cinema, or they were released a bit before my time. So what would be one old film that you would love to see in the theatres that you never got a chance to?
An old film, like not action film, that I would love to see in theaters that I hadn't seen. Um, Mine would be Breakfast Club, because I love the hell out of that movie. It's my favorite movie of all time. But unfortunately, I never got to see it in theaters. I know that there's some theaters that will play older movies in theaters, and if that movie ever does come back, I'd love to definitely check it. Like I know I saw Jaws on the big screen about a year ago, and I saw Back to the Future on the big screen as well when Cinemark did those like reruns of older films on the big screen. So that was nice and that was fun. But I would definitely, yeah, Breakfast Club, would love to see it on the big screen.
What is your favourite action franchise?
Favorite action franchise? I gotta say it again, Avengers. It's just, I don't know. It's just the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's fun connecting the dots between the films, and it's fun to think about where they're gonna go next and what storylines they're gonna adapt, and it's too much fun going on in one franchise. Don't get me wrong, there's tons of other martial arts action franchises that I love, but it's just, they don't really make you think as much as Marvel films do. Like when a Marvel film ends, and they have that cliffhanger, it just leaves you, and you're just like, oh, what did that mean? And it commenced the Google searches and commenced the debating and thinking with your friends. Oh, what's gonna happen? A lot of action films, they just don't have that. But again, I think that goes hand in hand with they don't have that. Source material that grabs fans, or they don't have that lore of characters, and it's so, I don't know, it's just, I guess it just kind of goes hand in hand with that.
So to bring it a bit more current, what action film are you looking forward to this year, and why?
I think that the action film that I'm most looking forward to has got to be Ip Man 4. Oh, I loved Ip Man 3, and when I found out that that was the last one, I was so disappointed. And then when they came out and said, you know what, screw it, I know we hyped this up as being the last one, but you know what, we're doing Ip Man 4, and no, and better yet, we've got Scott Adkins on board, and Scott Adkins and Donnie Yen will be fighting. And ever since that announcement has been made, I have been absolutely all aboard the hype train, because I am just ready for this movie to come out. Ip Man 3 was an absolute spectacle for the eyes. Anyone who hasn't seen any of the Ip Man films, I definitely recommend checking them out. The second one's probably the weakest. Not to say that it's bad, I just think that it's the weakest of the three. The first one being, I don't know which one's better, the first or the third. I just loved the third one, so I would say that that one's my favorite. But because the third one was my favorite, that only just hypes me up even more to see what to see from the fourth one. So who knows? That one might be my favorite, but that's got to be the action film that I'm most looking forward to.
I just want to say a big thank you for having me on the channel. I hope you all that are listening enjoyed our Q&A and really liked the answers that we provided in terms of action and martial art films.
Thank you, Nick from Talk and Review, for joining me here on my channel. Everyone, please go check him out. He's awesome. He's got tons of great content down there for you, tons of reviews and martial arts content down there for you. Please go check him out. Please subscribe. And like always, I'll catch you later, and so will Nick. Go ahead and check him out and subscribe. Catch you later.
Thanks again.